My 2026 ladder prediction video. With how competitive the competition was in 2025 and the fact a few teams are expected to rise with new additions to their list, I feel the 2026 season could be the closest and most competitive of all time. If you didn't know, typically 3 teams on average get replaced from the top 8 every single season. And there is usually always a big unexpected rise or fall. For example, in 2024, the Swans and Power were both top 2, and in 2025 they finished 10th and 13th. In 2024, the Crows finished bottom 4, then in 2025 finished as the minor premiers. The Cats and Pies both won flags in 2022 and 2023, then missed the finals the following year. I'm going to keep it short and sharp for the less interesting teams and go into more detail for the more exciting teams. Now let's get into it. My 2026 wooden spooners are the D's. Obviously, it's their first year of the rebuild, so they're naturally probably going to slide down the ladder a fair bit without Oliver and Petrarca in 2026. And I think the fact they're willing to pay $700,000 of Oliver's contract means they mean business and they're going to do this rebuild properly, especially considering Tassie coming in 2027. They really only have one season to tank and go for that number 1 pick in 2026. Stealing my check, I'm assuming they're going to have a pretty big impact. CJ has a bit of experience from Hawthorn, not a bad pickup for the wing half-back position. Xavier Taylor and Pickett from the draft. If they can impact in year 1, if Pickett can kick 1 goal a game and Xavier Taylor can really come in and be that third tall defender and have a decent impact, considering the ball is probably going to be down back for Melbourne most of the time. And they also have a pretty decent young core. Rivers, Bowie, Lindsay, Langford, Windsor, and of course they still have Gawn, Pickett and Viney. So they're not a bad team. I don't think they're going to be as bad as the West Coast or the North Melbournes when they first started rebuilding, but they're probably not going to be as good as the 5-win Richmond team in 2025. I think they're going to be competitive, but still wooden spooners in 2026. 17th, the Eagles. They added a good group of floor-raising players like Starcevich, Dev Robertson, Finlay McRae, Tyler Young, and of course the rookies in Dersma, Duff Tyler, and Lindsay. Plus, if Waterman can come back and have a consistent year and kick 50 plus like he did in 2024, this team will definitely be better than they were in 2025. At 16th, I have the Tigers. If Lawler and Smiley can get healthy and Cumming and Grill can have a decent impact in their rookie year, I feel like the Tigers could be pretty competitive with most of the bottom 9 sides. And don't forget about the other players they drafted in 2025. Trainer, Houghton and Fall. If they all can all improve and have a big impact, they could potentially finish outside the bottom 4. But don't forget, it is year 2 of the rebuild. To round out the bottom 4, I have the Bombers. Nick Martin's already out for the season after redoing his ACL at training. Ridley, Langford and Roby all have injuries early in the pre-season, so it's definitely not a good start already. They're obviously still young, and I feel like they're going to stay in the bottom 4 for 2026. Who's going to play ruck next season without Goldstein or Draper? I don't even know. I feel like their draft picks are going to be really good. Roby, Farrell and Sharp, really good picks from them. Finally, yes, and get some good draft picks, and they could have a decent impact in year 1. How's the merit situation going to affect the team next season? Look, we don't know yet. I feel like it was obviously good they kept their captain and their best player, but at the same time, if you're looking 3-4 years down the line, they're going to regret not trading him for the extra picks. They could have got a Schubert or a Doverston or a Lindsay or 2 of those players in the draft, and they could have had a Richmond-like rebuild or start to the rebuild in 2026, but unfortunately, that's not the case, and the Bombers will probably be in the bottom 4 until 2035. Next, I have North Melbourne. The youth will develop and get better, but they'll still be a bottom 6 team, but I can't see them being worse than the 4 teams I've already listed. If O'Sullivan, McKercher and Dersma can develop and play bigger roles in 2026, I feel like the whole team will be much more competitive. Other than Charlie Spargo, they didn't really add anyone of significance over the off-season. Maybe a Lockie Doverson in the draft, who's going to be a good small forward, but other than that, they probably could have improved their backline, but I think North will finally get out of the bottom 4 in 2026. At 13, I have Carlton. I think they're going to decline after the losses of Curnow, DeConing and Silvani, but the players they get back are going to keep them competitive. Hayward, Florent and Chesser are good pickups, and Nick Newman and Jagger Smith will be back from injury. Also, rookies Harry Dean and Jack Ison. If they can have a decent impact in year 1, I can't see the Blues being worse than the teams I've already listed. But of course, they still have players like Cripps, Walsh, Wiedering and Mackay, so who knows what the Blues can do in 2026. At 12th, I had the Power. They didn't really add anything over the off-season. They didn't draft anyone. They didn't recruit any free agents or anything like that. But I think they did improve players on the rookie list to their main list. I think their best players like Butters, Rosie, Horn Francis and Georgiades keep them from finishing in the bottom 6. But I think the rest of their depth on their list will let them down and they won't be able to push for the wildcard round. Other than Zach Butters potentially leaving at the end of 2026, I don't really see anything too exciting about Port Adelaide. So yeah, I have them at 12th. Now we enter the really exciting part of the video. At 11, I have the Crows. They were definitely overachievers in 2025, being the minor premiers coming from bottom 4 the year before. They unfortunately had a bad ending when Rankin got suspended and missed out on the finals. They went out in straight sets. They definitely benefited from an easier fixture in 2025 compared to 2024. 13 of their 18 wins were against bottom 10 sides. And we all know how big the gap in competition was between the top 8 and the bottom 10 sides in 2025. Not taking anything away from them, because they were definitely still competitive with the higher rated sides, but I feel like if I had to pick a team to miss out on the finals, it would have to go to Adelaide. Sneaking into wildcard round, I had the Pies at 10th. They finished top 4 and made a prelim in 2025, but noticeably slowed down in the back half of the year, finishing the home and away season 2-5. I think Brody Myercheck is going to be a much bigger loss than people think, and they didn't really add anyone of significance over the off-season. Their list is aging and they're looking real old at the moment. Elliott 33, Pendlebury 37, Sidebottom 34, Crisp 32, Howe 35. DeGoey, Darcy Cameron, Darcy Moore, Tim Membry, Frampton, McStay, they're all either 30 or going to be 30 next year, which isn't necessarily old in modern day footy, but still, when you look at the others in their mid-30s, yeah, the list is looking fairly old right now. Who's going to be kicking all these goals in 2026? Myercheck was the second leading goal kicker with 36, and the Pies only had 4 20-plus goal kickers in 2025. Most of the top 8 teams had between 5 and 7. You're taking away your second leading goal kicker. Do you expect a 33, 34-year-old Jamie Elliott to still kick 60-plus, 50 maybe, in a good year, but I don't see him getting 60 again for his career. The midfield is looking real old. Pendlebury 37, Sidebottom 34, Crisp 32, 33 next season. Look, I honestly think the Pies would finish probably 11th rather than 10th, but I think just the home ground advantage playing at the G pretty much every week, and the fact that the AFL, let's be real, they're going to want Collingwood in the wildcard round or finals a lot more than Adelaide, just revenue-wise, it makes a lot more sense. So yeah, I have the Pies finishing in 10th. Next, I have the Swans at 9th. I feel like they bounced back in 2026 with the addition of Charlie Curnow, but in a very competitive top 9 to 11 teams, I feel like they just fall short by 1 win to the top 8. I feel like if Goulden and Warner can have big pre-seasons and come back and establish themselves as all-Australian calibre players again, and don't forget players like Blakey, Rowbottom and Mills, there's more than enough talent on this list to ruin a few years in 2026. Getting into the top 8, I have the Bulldogs at 8th. I think the Dogs can bounce back in 2026. They were only 1 win off the top 8 in 2025. And people seem to forget that Bont missed the first 6 games of the year, Sam Darcy missed a 6 to 7 game stretch throughout the year, and Cody Waitman didn't play at all last season. I think if they get all that firepower back and stay healthy, they're definitely capable of winning 1 more game in 2026 and making the top 8. I think Sam Darcy has a career best year and establishes himself as a top 5 to 10 player in the entire competition. The Dogs at their best can compete with anyone. Unfortunately, they're just a bit too inconsistent right now. They really do need to make the finals because it's good for everyone to see the Bont in the finals, so I think the Dogs are sneaking to the 8. At 7, I have the Giants. I think the Giants will surprise a lot of people this year. I have them at 7th, but I think they're only going to be 1 win outside the top 4. The addition of Clayton Oliver is going to be huge. It's arguably the best piece they could have put beside Tom Green and Finn Callaghan. In 2025, the Giants were ranked 9th in contested possessions, 11th for clearances, and 7th for disposals. Oliver improves all those areas instantly, and I feel like he's the perfect piece to add to this Giants side. I also think he's going to elevate Finn Callaghan's game and take him to the next level. Finn is going to play more on the outside using his speed and run and carry, and he might turn into a top 10 player in the competition at the end of the season. The Giants' best can compete with the best, but can they put it together in 2026? At 6, I'll have the Saints. This is easily my boldest prediction of the video. I'm really high on the Saints going into 2026. They only had 9 wins in 2025, but they were very competitive most of their games. They showed really good signs throughout the entire season. They beat the Cats and the Dockers, lost to the Suns by 19, Hawks by 20, Swans by 5, Giants by 11, Freo again by 12, and the Pies and Cats by 5 goals each. So super competitive for a young team against top 8 quality sides. They were easily the most active team over the off-season, recruiting Tom De Koning, Sam Flanders, Liam Ryan and Jack Silvani. I think they're going to take a big jump in 2026 the way the Crows did in 2025 and the Hawks in 2024. Look at what the Hawks did in 2024. They addressed weaknesses and added depth to their entire list. Ginnivan, Chol, Gunston, D'Ambrosio, and the rookies at the time, Watson and Deere. Let's say the Saints' 4 new recruits slot into the best 18 players on the list. And then also add Max King, who didn't play a single game in 2025, so that's 5 players into your best 18. You're then pushing 5 players from last season's best 18 onto the bench, and the bench players from last season are now depth players. This just improves the overall list, bench, depth, starting side, everything. De Koning is an improvement in the ruck, and now Marshall is going to go up forward with Max King. That's extra height up forward, and now extra depth in the ruck position. Adding Liam Ryan as a small forward gives him a nice little group of small forwards with Ryan, Higgins, Hall, and sometimes Wilson when he's playing up there. Flanders to the midfield, he's only 24, he could potentially be an A-grader in 2026 if he potentially has a breakout season. And then Silvani down back with Wilkie and potentially Taru developing. There's 3 really good intercept players right there that gives him a nice little package down back. So they've literally upgraded every single area of their list. Like literally every single area. Back, midfield, forward, ruck, bench, depth. Everything's improved. Then you look at the young players who are expected to have big years in 2026. Winhager, Wilson and Philippou. Also, the rookies from last year, Taru and Chevalier. If they can step up and play bigger roles in 2026, who knows what their ceiling could be. And of course, Nazaya. He's already considered a top 5 to 10 player in the comp, but next year, if he can take it to another level and potentially be considered a unanimous top 2 to 3 player in the comp, I mean, when you ask someone who are the top players in the comp, Dacos and Nazaya, if they're the two names that pop up in the conversation, he's legitimately the second or third best player in the comp. The sky's the limit for the Saints. I feel like they can make a deep run in September if they stay healthy and things fall into place. Like I said, if Hawthorn can go from bottom 4 to 7th and win a final, and the Crows can go from bottom 4 to minor premiers, then I feel like the Saints can go from 12th to 6th in 2025 and 2026. At 5th, I have the Cats. Obviously, they made top 2 last year and the grand final. They're still going to be a really good team in 2026. The addition of Warple is going to be really big in my opinion. I feel like he plays perfectly next to Smith and Holmes. His in and under game style fits perfectly with their outside speed. People forget how good Warple was. He won a BNF at Hawthorn and came 4th in 2023 and 2024. So yeah, he's definitely not a bad player at all. They do have a slightly more difficult fixture in 2026, and I feel like maybe the big loss in the grand final could impact them mentally a little bit. I feel like they're still going to be a top 4 caliber team, but they could just drop an extra game or two compared to 2025. But yeah, the Cats at 5th. To start off the top 4, I have Freo in 4th. They're always pretty highly rated going into most seasons, and I feel like after the elimination final loss to the Suns, they're finally going to get the motivation to jump into the top 4 for the first time in a while. With the new ruck and last touch rules, I feel like the ruck duo of Jackson and Darcy will be really big. Having a fresh ruck at all times is going to be super underrated for all teams going into next season. Talent-wise, they're stacked. Sarong, Brayshaw, Young, Bolton, Clark, Reed, Voss, Amos, Tracy. They're all going to be huge next season. I feel like they're going to get probably another 16-win year. In 2025, they had 16 wins, with only 1 win and a little bit of percentage off second place on the ladder. So yeah, I think it's Freo's year to finally push into the top 4 in 2026. At 3rd, I have the Hawks. Everyone's saying the Hawks are an extra midfielder to take them to the next level, but they just made a prelim without their best player and midfielder in Will Days. So there's that. They've got a ton of young players that are about 22 or under who are nowhere near their final form. The question is, who's going to break out first? Weddle, Watson, Connor McDonald, D'Ambrosio, Deere, Ginnivan. There's just so many names. Word going around is players like Dylan Moore, Connor McDonald and Nick Watson are all expected to play more midfield minutes in 2026. And if Mitch Lewis and Cal Shadir can stay healthy, I feel like this balances the forward line out really nicely. If Mitch Lewis and Cal Shadir can stay healthy, what kind of damage can they do? I feel like the 4 talls are going to work for Hawthorn. If we have Gunson as the 3rd tall, Chol playing more ruck, and of course, if the other 2, Deere and Lewis, are still on slight minute restrictions throughout the year, I feel like it's a very good balance in that forward line going into 2026. Is it time for Dylan Moore to become a full-time mid in 2026? His second half of 2025 was elite. Every second game in that back half of the year, he essentially had 25 and a goal. And I think if he can start the season playing 60-40 mid-forward and potentially work up to 70-30 mid-forward, yeah, Dylan Moore could be an all-Australian midfielder, potentially. Also, Josh Weddle is expected to play way more wing in 2026. If he can get really fit and have a massive pre-season, I feel like he could definitely become an all-Australian wingman. With Weddle on the wing now, I feel like it balances out the backline quite nicely. Yes, he's definitely going to play half-back throughout the year, but I think with him on the wing now, Scrimshaw is going to be the man to step up. He had a bit of a down 2025 season. After bulking up in the 2024 season to play more of a key back role, and then Battle and Barris coming in, he sort of couldn't really find his place in the side. But I feel like if Weddle's to the wing and Scrimshaw slims down and gets his athleticism and speed back, he could be that next running carry player off halfback for the Hawks. And I feel like he's in for a real big 2026 year. So I feel like if Hawthorn can get Will Day back to 100%, Dylan Moore can turn into one of the competition's best players, playing mid and forward. And the key forwards in Lewis and Deere can get healthy and potentially kick over 70 goals together in a year. Yeah, Hawks are up there for the flag. They're going to be up there with Brisbane throughout the entire season. In second place, I have the Suns. If you don't have the Suns in your top 4, then you're a casual. They finally made and won their first final in their history this year, and now they're adding Petrarca. That's very scary to think about. Yeah, they definitely lost a fair bit of depth, but Petrarca definitely makes up for it. Plus the rookies in Yulin and Patterson, I feel like at the halfway point of the season, they can definitely start having a major impact. Plus Jamara Ugle-Hagan, who knows what he's going to do, but at his best, yeah, he's definitely in this starting side. They had 15 wins in 2025, and with Petrarca, I can see them easily getting 1 to 2 more in 2026 and pushing for the top 2. People really forgot how good Christian Petrarca was. He is one of the best players in a comp. He's been top 3, top 5 in the Brownlow multiple times. Norm Smith medalist, obviously, premiership player, and yeah, he's going to take this team to the next level. It's actually scary to think about. And he's not even going to have to do everything. He's not even going to have to be prime Christian Petrarca. Anderson and Rao obviously going to run the midfield. Petrarca's going to be in there as the third best mid, second to third best mid, and then he's probably going to be the best forward that isn't a key forward. So, yeah, I'm scared. If I had to come up against Gold Coast in the finals, I'm not liking my chances regardless, even if I'm Brisbane, to be honest with you. That's how good they look. So, yeah, in second place, I have the Suns. And for my minor premiers, I had the Lions. Obviously, back-to-back premiers, and they're the team to beat at the moment by far. They added Oscar Allen and Sam Draper over the offseason, two definite weaknesses in their team that they just improved. Also, the rookie, Dan Annable, apparently last year he played VFL and he was borderline good enough to be in this Brisbane side last year. So, yeah, he's probably going to have a pretty big impact in year one, I'm assuming. They did lose Brandon Starcevich and Cal Archie, but I think with Kitty Coleman coming back, that just improves their backline a little bit more. And, yeah, they're going to make up for it. They're a very deep team, Brisbane. At this point in time, December 2025, they're my premiership favourites. I feel like they're going to go back to back to back and three-peat. Unless Hawthorn can get Will Day completely healthy, Dylan Moore turns into an A-grade mid. Yeah, I think Brisbane are still the favourites, even coming from a Hawthorn supporter. But yeah, Brisbane are the minor premiers, and they're going to three-peat so far in 2026. And yeah, that's it. So here's a look at the overall ladder. Bottom four, starting from the bottom, Melbourne, West Coast, Richmond and Essendon. The North, Carlton, Port Adelaide, Adelaide. Wildcard round, I have Collingwood, Sydney, the Dogs, and the Giants. And then the top six, St Kilda and Geelong. And the top four, Fremantle, Hawthorn, Gold Coast, and of course, Brisbane as the minor premiers. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Comment down below your thoughts and opinions. How did I do? What would you change? And what do you expect to be different in 2026? Always curious to hear your thoughts and opinions. Also, the ET Footy YouTube channel is approaching 1,000 subscribers, and to celebrate, I'm doing a subscriber special video. So basically, comment what type of video you want to see. If you want to see a prediction video, a team lineup video, another ladder prediction video later on, maybe earlier next year, literally anything. Comment what you want to see, and if it gets enough likes or the same suggestion, it gets commented multiple times, I'll do it. I want to give back to the fans. I want to do something that you guys will enjoy and you are excited to watch, essentially. So yeah, thank you for watching, and comment down below what type of video you want to see.